you know, sometimes I miss the Fed, because at least we used to be able to say, well, it's the Fed and China. Now the market really is focused back again. I mean, they're focused on the Fed, but they're out. It seems like they're out of it. But every, you know, sort of nuance we hear about China, from whether it's positive or negative, seems to impact stock prices now. What are the prospects? It's near term, and that it's a decent deal.
Well, it's not going to be a decent deal, but it's
never.
You can't negotiate the deal they promised, and the deal they promised was structural change to the Chinese economy. That is not on the table. IP protection, that's on the table. Market access on the table. They're going to have some ridiculously high number that's mathematically impossible to meet in terms of headline buys of imports,
right.
and that's all part of the deal. But the idea that they're going to get what they promised, it's not going to happen. You can't negotiate structural change in the Chinese economy in 90 days, 120 days. You can't do it in 1 year. So this will be an ongoing battle. The funny thing is that the markets keep reacting to every whisper that Trump has or every suggestion coming from Asia. Look, we're moving towards a deal. The president wants a deal. As long as the president wants a deal, we're going to have a deal, because they're just going to fudge all the remaining issues at the very end. And we're at the stage in the last several weeks where they're going to start fudging the issue. And what fudging the issue is simply saying, well, here's my interpretation, here's your interpretation, and we're going to sell it to our own bases as being successful.
What's impossible to, you say the IP might work. I mean, is there a way to make it where we don't have American companies that do business there don't have to give up quite as much to enter that market? Is it possible that around the edges there can be some positive things there? You're so pessimistic. So by 2025, there's nothing we can do. They're going to be number one. By 2030, we're going to be a second-rate superpower at that point. There's no stopping China?
Yeah. No. Look,
if they're not stopped, they don't take over the world?
Well, the interesting thing about IP is that 10 years ago, there was no motivation for the Chinese to actually try to restrict IP theft, because that was their bread and butter. Now they are a copycat economy, but they're also an innovation economy. So there are reasons why the Chinese find IP protection more attractive now than they did in the past. And certainly some of the stuff they're doing is laying the groundwork for a much more robust IP protection system, no question. The problem here is that if U.S. China relations deteriorate in the future, in a society like China, where the party controls everything, you could simply turn off the enforcement, either as leverage or as punishment. And so as long as you have that, your change isn't structural, it's transitory, which means you get some positives, but things revert to the old way after a period of time. And that's the real risk with this deal, that what we're seeing, you'll get a bump, you'll get some great headlines in the early going, but nothing has actually changed in China.
Does it boost U.S. growth, and for how long?
Look, I think this is a relatively de minimis issue in the grand scheme of things in terms of the U.S. economy. I think people want to see trade war headwinds off the table. They want to make sure that this is not an issue for 2019, but I don't think that this is something that is a major issue for the U.S. economy. China, different. You know, they'd like the trade war sort of off their lap.
So if Trump decides, you know, listens to people like you and other, you know, naysayers and critics that we're not getting anything, what if he says, what if he decides, you know, I'm walking away because China's not going to do it?
It's then Trump. It's always possible. Well, then I think you'd have some really negative sentiment in markets, and I think it's one of the reasons he's boxed himself in. It'd be very hard to walk away, having walked away in Hanoi,
North Korea,
walked in now.
Yeah. Anyone who tries to predict Trump, you know,
good luck.
He hasn't tried before. I don't know.